Hey guys, what it is? What's up? It's your girl Tally back again. Oh my god. My bad, y'all. My bad. Y'all completely done fell off. This thing is so annoying sometimes, but it's needed. So I just want to come over here and share with you women, especially my single ladies, probably only my single ladies, the power of abstinence. All right, and you could be in a relationship, but if you're not married, this could apply to you too. And I've been abstinent for a little while now, okay? And when I say a little while, I've gone longer than that. I've gone way longer than this, obviously, but when I say a while, I just mean a year. A year is not all that bad. A lot of people go way longer than a year. So when you hear a year, it's definitely not something that's like too crazy at all, But I understand there's people out there who a few months seems crazy to you. So that's a whole nother subject, right? But the power in abstinence, guys, there's some serious power here that can be unlocked if you let it. And just one of the greatest thing about abstinence for me is that you get your power back. There's power. Okay, I said there's serious power in it. The power is that you get your power back. There's a power and there's a confidence when sex is off the table. Because a lot of you, if you look at your history with failed relationships, broken heart, you will come to see that first of all, there's many people that you gave your body to that did not deserve it. That's always number one. There's many people you gave your body to, or there's maybe a few people, or maybe there's a couple, or maybe there's 1, 2, 3, maybe there's 1, 2. Maybe there's just one person that you gave your body to that they did not deserve it. And when you give your body to somebody, I don't care how many people or how many women want to make it seem like it's just casual, it's not such a big deal, you're just lusting and you want it, you just fiending for it, and because of that, just do it. You don't care, you could just do it and be gone and forget about the person. I don't care how many women want to make it seem like that's all sex is. But when you get real with yourself, when we get real with ourselves, we will come to understand that sex can never be as casual as people are making it. That experience, the risks of those experiences, the effects of those experiences are too great. And I'm talking about bringing children into the world. I'm talking about diseases, curable and incurable. I'm just with that alone. Just with those two things alone, that an act like that can lead you toward, we need to understand that act can never be casual. Just with those two side effects, those two large, big, humongous side effects that could come from that, we can never say that act can just be casual. All right, we got to get real. And another thing women need to get real about is how it feels on the inside, how you feel. Because the reason a lot of us think it's just casual, because the way we feeling on the inside, we may not feel too good about ourselves. We may have gotten hurt to the core many times, or maybe just that one time where the inside is just so unhealed, so broken, and so cold that we don't even feel the effects of the action no more, which is a whole situation, a whole healing that needs to take place in itself. But get real about not only the physical effects, but also the emotional and mental effects of sex. So when you finally take your power back and that is off the table, there, like I said, there's great power and great confidence in knowing that when I enter into any sort of situation, that is not on the table. So, and if we could be real with ourselves, if that wasn't on the table for past relationships, we wouldn't have been as hurt as we were. I ask girls this question all the time. If sex was not involved in that past relationship or that failed relationship, if sex was not involved, would you have been as hurt and and felt so disempowered and felt so destroyed as you felt? And everybody always tells me no. Because there is, no matter how much anybody wants to deny it, there is an emotional and mental impact and imprinting that happens when you have sex with somebody. Because I did not create sex, you did not create sex. The Creator created sex. So he created sex for his own purpose. So when we don't use sex for the purpose that he created it for, that's where all these other side effects come in, these negative side effects, these negative consequences. That's where it comes from, because you're doing something, you're trying to recreate something or recreate the purpose of something when the purpose was already set in place, and neither you or I are changing that purpose. So if you want to use something out of purpose, get ready to suffer the consequences. So everybody always says that if they did not have sex, the pain and the hurt of that situation, that relationship failing, would not be as deep. So that goes to show you there is an emotional impact. There is a mental consequence for you having sex with somebody, that for you just having sex with somebody and that situation fails, there will be an impact. All right, and it is emotional. It's not only just physical, but it is emotional as well. So now when you finally review all of that and you take inventory, you take that, all of that, what you have learned from your mistakes, when you take it into consideration, now you decide to be abstinent. You have power, you have confidence. Why? Because the next situation you go into, you understand that I've learned from my past mistakes. I've learned from doing it this one way that I used to do it. Now I'm going to do it this way. Now that I know that sex takes things to a different level, that it has an emotional and mental impact, now I'm taking that off the table. Now, if this relationship, if this situation fails, it's not going to destroy me. It's not going to have a serious, or just as serious emotional impact, or as serious physical impact as my prior relationships had on me. So now you feel empowered. Why? Because you know that you know that this person will not have the power to destroy your heart in the same way that you used to get destroyed. This person is not going to have the same access to your emotions and into your mental capacity as other relationships have, because now you took your power back. Sex is off the table, and that's just protecting you. That's just you protecting yourself. All right, like I said, if you're the person who says that sex doesn't have that impact on you, I encourage you, all right, and I want to impress upon you that you probably need to take a look at your past. Take a look at your traumas before you say anything. Before you try to negate this information and you say that this doesn't apply to you. Go back to your past and see what has happened to you that has maybe desensitized you to such an important and such an important activity that carries so much weight, that carries so much potential consequence, that you would make an activity like that, an important activity, a spiritual activity, you would turn it into something small. Why would you do that? Would you buy a mansion and pretend like you're renting an apartment? That, I feel like that's a way I could explain it to you. Taking something like sex, which is very serious, carries so much weight, and treating it as a casual activity. It's the same way as purchasing a multi-million-dollar mansion, signing your name on the dotted line, taking on that liability that eventually will become an asset. But at this point, it's a liability. Okay? Doing all that, making a huge down payment, just investing so much into buying this mansion, and then when you get it, you treat it like it's an apartment. You treat it as if it has the same value as an apartment that you're renting. Apartment that you're renting, it's not yours. You're not really responsible for much. Anything happens, you could call somebody else. And the thing is, this is a mansion that you bought. It's under your name. You're responsible for everything. If the toilet breaks down, if anything breaks down in the house, you're responsible for it. Anything happens to that, you're responsible for it. Okay, whether you have to probably purchase insurance, again, insurance that you have to purchase, that you have to pay, that you're responsible for it, but then you're in that mansion pretending like it's someone else who got to be responsible for this. You're in that mansion pretending like you don't have to be protective of your asset or of what you're responsible for. Isn't that irresponsible? Isn't that a terrible thing? That's exactly what it is when you take sex, something that holds weight like a multi-million-dollar mansion, and could have so much impact on your life, and you treat it like it's just some rundown apartment that you're not even staying in that long, and you're gonna give up, and the day you give up, you give it up back to its landlord. You're not even responsible for it. You can't treat sex like that. Point blank, period. You cannot treat sex like that, because the impact it has in your life, is too great. It holds too much weight. So like I said, if you're a person who thinks that sex is not everything that it is, which it is, and it doesn't hold as much weight, you have to check your past. You have to check the trauma. You have to check what you've been through. You have to check the childhood trauma that made you, that shaped you, informed you, and turned your mindset into that, because it's not true. It's deceiving you. It's deceiving you. All right? So other than that, like I said, you take your power back. So you understand that this person is not going to have the power to, or have access to your mental, emotional, and your physical, and have the potential to for you to break you, to destroy you as your past once did, because now you have learned from your past. Power, period. Power, confidence, self-confidence. All right, even on top of that, that's self-love right there, because limiting access to anything or anybody in your life until they have proven themselves to you, that's self-love right there. Because as everyone says these days, not everybody deserves access to you. And when you hold yourself, when you're someone who feels like you're of high value, like you're worthy, not everybody, no matter what, deserves access. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? That means that when something is of high value and high worth, it is exclusive. Not everybody can obtain it. Not everybody can have access to it. So think about exclusive clubs that celebrities go to. Think about exclusive neighborhoods that have 2 security guards to get to the house that you want, because there's neighborhoods we have 1 security guard for the whole neighborhood, and then to get into a single neighborhood, it has another security guard to go into. Anything exclusive, the Rolls Royces, Bentley, whatever, the car lot. Not everybody could say they've been on a car lot with a with Rolls Royces and Bentleys. Why? Because anything of high value, not everyone is going to be able to get to. So if you consider yourself a person of high value, you're going to have limits, you're going to have boundaries, and you're going to have standards on who could get to you. Boundaries. Not everybody who says hi, not everybody who's even nice to me, not everybody who wants to get to know me or wants me is going to have access to me. Boundary, standards. Now, let's say if someone does want to get close to me, all right, I see this person, all right, let's see if I am interested in it. Now, even if I let you into, let's say, the first boundary, now there's a standard. Before you even get into that boundary, there is a standard that you have to have before you get in here. In real life, let's say you buying an expensive house and a mansion, a car, you got to have that credit score. You got to have the right debt to income ratio. You have to have a down payment, a strong down payment sometimes. All right. I'm not talking about those programs where people, they help you buy a certain house. So they, you know what I'm saying? It's like almost anybody could get into that program. I'm talking about something of value, something that is going to be really precious. There has to be standards around that. So if you consider yourself of worth, which you are, which you need to consider yourself that way, there's going to be standards for who could enter your life. And this is what abstinence does. Not only is sex off the table and I got my power back and I'm letting anybody who comes into my vicinity, my surroundings, I'm letting you know, which I'm not physically letting you know. I'm like, oh, I'm abstinent. I don't believe people have to do that. I'm just saying for you to know that sex is off the table. That's your power back. That's you loving on yourself and saying, listen, I'm not giving everybody access to this. That's number one. Or everybody or anybody. Two, you're saying there has to be there is a boundary. That abstinence is already that boundary, okay? But there's other boundaries, like even if you find interest in me, I have to decide if you're worthy of my interest. And then there's a standard for you to get my interest, and then there's a standard for you to maintain my interest. So those are all things that people do when they love themselves, where they have standards for themselves, when they love themselves. So absolutely, being abstinent is definitely a sign of self-love, period. So you gain that's me explaining how you gain your power back. All that self-love, standards and boundaries, limiting access, looking at yourself as something of high value, that's the power that's in abstinence. That's what you gain. Two, the focus and the clarity. Now that you're not wasting time with people that add no value to you, with people that weren't even supposed to get a high from you, but now they got all the way in your life. Remember your past relationships? A lot of those people are people who weren't even supposed to get a high from you. A lot of those people were people who were never supposed to even have your number or your name or your number. But for some reason, because you didn't have that understanding about your value, you gave someone access to you that didn't deserve it. This is why it ended up the way it did. But now that you understand that, you've learned from that, you know that, now you have focus. Now, because through abstinence, you're gaining focus and clarity. So this focus and clarity, now that you're not distracted with people who weren't even supposed to get your name and your number, you can divert that energy. You could reassign that energy to places in your life where you need it the most. Now, this is not about anybody else. This is not about he, she, him, them, they. This is not even about your past relationships, barely. This is about you. This is about focusing your energy in the right places to take your life to the next level, to upgrade your life, to refocus yourself on all your goals. Because a lot of there's so many things wrong with toxic relationships that you weren't even supposed to be in. There's so many things wrong with it. But one of the most